Start from the beginning. I was a month old, and there was war going on in 1991 between Saddam, Iraq, and Kuwait. It was really bad. So the United Nations had planes, and I was a month old, and they were just getting us on and got us to refugee camps in Saudi Arabia. We spent about 2 years there before we came to America. So I was, I kind of say it's like born and raised in America because that's all I've ever known. I was raised in Dearborn, Michigan, which is one of the highest population of Middle Eastern Muslim people in America. We were 3 girls, and I was the oldest, and then we had a younger brother. At the same time, it was around 2004 when we were here in America. We were at war with Iraq, and the whole thing was Saddam Hussein. And around that time is when they caught him, and all of that was happening. So for the first time ever, we were able to visit back home in Iraq. And that's what my dad did. He took me and my siblings, my younger siblings, all to Iraq, and he remarried, kind of like somebody random, and left my mom in America. And my mom was living in it alone and pregnant by herself. And my dad was in Iraq, just starting a whole new life. And a boy said hi to me, like in front of my father. And when I went home, I was in trouble for that. And that was in the 5th grade.
What?
Yes. They believe that no dating, nothing. I was actually not even really allowed to have friends. Before the internet was popular and people had phones and everybody had phones, we never questioned things because we didn't have access to information. So it was just what he said went, and that was it. But he told us the first time he took us to Iraq that we were going to Dubai for vacation, Dubai for a week or 2. We were really young. And then from there, we got on a boat and he went to Iraq. So we didn't know that was happening. Like, he tricked us. My dad tried to kind of push it, and I could hear him and my uncles talking and saying, yeah, just get her married off so you don't have to deal with it. And I didn't know much about marriage. I didn't know much about anything. And, when I tell you that I wasn't close with my family, even growing up and going through puberty, everything I learned about my body, I learned through school. My mom never taught me anything about menstrual cycle or anything like that. So I just was so oblivious, I feel like, at the time. I was in a way, just innocent, just younger than I even was. I was taken to Iraq. I barely spoke the language at the time because growing up in America, we just went to school. My mom was in the kitchen. My dad was at work. So me and my siblings just talked to each other, and they were, still in barely elementary and middle school. So I barely spoke the language. I barely knew the food. I barely knew the culture. I couldn't comprehend things. I didn't think about comprehending things. I didn't think about planning, because now I'm in this country, and he was about 25 at the time and I was 14, and we've spoken before or been in the same room, but I didn't know him closely. So for me, in my eyes, I thought, wow, well, this person's at least closer to my age. At least he seems nice. So I knew I had to agree to somebody. So I thought to agree to the best option was, as my father kind of controlling. It's like he saw me as an object, as a liability, and just needed to get it out of the way so he could live his life. And then once I was passed on to my husband, my engagement was about 10 days long, and it was just something really quick. It wasn't most girls that even do get married, or even young, they have that engagement opportunity to get to know their fiance, to get to pick out the bedroom or their room or their, everything that comes with getting married. For me, it was just take her, take whatever you have. I don't even care. I'm not going to fight for rights for my daughter, whatever it is, whatever you want in the house, just take it and get it off my back type situation. And I didn't realize that until later, but because my dad never stood up for my rights as a woman, my husband didn't give me any rights in any kind of way. So my dad really set the foundation for me very, very poorly.
Yeah.
After he got rid of me and I got married, after a few weeks, he did a visa for his wife and brought her and my siblings back to America. So then I was totally alone in Iraq with nobody. Dad is given a bunch of money, the dowry. That money that is given to the woman when she is married, that is in return for her virginity. Because the virginity of a woman and her saving herself for her husband is so valuable that they give you a bunch of money to buy gold, to buy new clothes, to buy new outfits, because you're going from being a child to a woman and you're giving your virginity to your husband. And that's so valuable in Islam. And it's your right. It's your right to have that money. And it never goes to the father. It goes to the woman. People have a conception that it goes to the father and the father takes the money and that he sold his daughter. No, it goes to the daughter, and it's her security to buy gold and be more beautiful and buy things to be. If you talk to any Middle Eastern woman or a Muslim woman here in America now, they'll say my dowry is like nothing less than 50 grand, 100 grand, and a house and a car, like, because this is what I deserve. I've saved my body for you and I'm giving my life to you, because a woman is valuable. But the culture and the religion are two different things. And my dad was not a religious man. He was more like, he was very just selfish, very much like, no, you can't sit here, you can't do that, you can't do that. Like, everything was controlled. What I ate, like I said, what I ate, when I ate, I wasn't allowed to leave the house at all without his permission or his presence. The person that I was married to was 10 times more controlling than my father. I would say, it's like, oh, I don't want to have intercourse like tonight, I'm tired. And he's like, oh, okay. So he'll just drag me by my hair in the room with his hand on my mouth. And he'd be like, okay, how about now? With my second son, and when I came back to America after a few years, I also had him all alone. I just woke up my dad. He took me to the hospital, and my mom stayed at home with my older son, and I just delivered him alone as well. But at the hospital, he didn't have a visa. So young, when are we going to do a marital visa for a girl, that's a teenager? It wouldn't happen. So actually, while I was staying there in America, we started a visa for my husband, and to bring him here, we thought, okay, our son is sick, let's get started on the visa. And we worked on it, and I spent a lot of money and time and effort on it. And when he actually got his visa and he was supposed to come, my father again tricked me and said, hey, well, before he comes, let's just go get him and let the kids visit their grandparents back in Iraq from their dad's side, and we'll all come back. I said, okay, that works. I had stuff saved up because in my mind, I was bringing my husband back to America. As soon as I get to Iraq, my dad takes all our passports, all the money, my debit card, everything. And he's like, yeah, bye. So I believe, my husband at the time had a resentment and anger towards me and my father for maybe putting him through all this and not getting him to America. My husband at the time even took advantage more of that fact. So that's when things really got bad. And the physical, sexual, and mental abuse escalated levels. I thought that I was just going to die there. As many times as him and my father have tried to kill me physically, like to death, I thought my life was going to end through complications of birth, because I never got any prenatal care or anything. And I was like, well, this is it. So I just sat there and I cried, and she came out, and it was around 10 p.m. He called the midwife, and she came, cleaned me up, gave me some antibiotics, and that was that. And I woke up the next day and back to chores, the Muslim ban, and things just started piling up with violence and war and terrorism. And internet was being more accessible, so I was able to communicate again with my siblings and my mom. So they talked into him. They're like, okay, the first time didn't work out. Let's bring you back out here. Let's get you guys out of this terrible situation. And thankfully he agreed. It took 2 years working on his visa, selling anything I had. I was selling any extra blanket I had, any extra shoe that I had, to people that, like, I would send the kids to talk to neighbors, like, hey, go see if they'll buy this shoe, or go see if they'll buy this, just to finish his visa, because he didn't pay for anything. He didn't pitch in, but I needed to make it work. I just needed to make it work. We come to the States, and in my head, I'm thinking, okay, this is all behind us. You know, that whole 12 years of being with him, being married. I'm 26 years old now and we have 3 kids. 3 kids, we're starting a new life, like the American dream finally, you know. I come back to America and I get a job as a medical assistant working night weekends at the hospital, a day where he did come back. And he was very angry for me at something. He locked me in the room and asked my younger son to grab a knife. He had me cornered in the room with the knife like poking in my throat.
Oh.
And I thought, okay, here we go again, you know. Luckily, because my dad lives across the street, my dad came and opened the door because he could hear me screaming. He came and opened the door and my kids were downstairs like telling him, go help mom, go help mom. And they were young. So my dad came and he yelled at him. He's like, what do you think you're doing? She's going to call the cops now and get us both in trouble. My daughter, how dare you? He was saying, no, this is too far of the extreme to the point that she's going to call the cops and get legal action. And they're arguing back and forth. And I escape between them, run in the bathroom and text my sister because I can't call and let them know I have my phone because I hid it in my clothing. And I text her, I'm like, call 911. I will not escape from the bathroom until you do. I cannot call them. I need you to call them for me. She called them. They came and arrested him. He was out in a few days. My dad was super angry. But after that, the mental abuse from my father and the control, things just kept escalating worse. But at this time, I was kind of done with it. So my brother wouldn't let my husband come back in the house, and my husband straight up said, he's like, if I don't get to do what I want to you and abuse you, I refuse to be in the country. So he went back. He voluntarily went back, and it was the best thing he's ever done.
Wow.
I was at the gym. And I finally stopped going to the hospital because I started taking care of my mental health after my husband left. And one time my dad was like, I drove by the gym. Your car wasn't there. You're lying. You're out doing something bad. And he's like, come home right now. And he was in my apartment. So I was like, no. But then I came home. And I was just sweaty and gym clothes. And I got on my knees. I'm like, Dad, like, you cannot talk to me like this in front of my kids. Like, I need them to respect me. I'm the only person in their life. And he laughed at me and I was like, you know what? Get out before I call the cops. And that was my last straw with him. And since then, I have not spoken. Yeah, so I continued to go to school. I got a few associate degrees from the community college before moving forward with the university. My degrees are in criminology and international studies because of everything I went through. I wanted to educate myself more on global things. I opened my own business. I started teaching myself financial literacy and becoming very passionate about that, and even helping my other friends and people I knew. And from there, I started doing marketing and business consulting, and I'm currently in a graduate program at the university. And I own my marketing agency. And, within the first year and a half of being in America, I bought a home for my kids.